rate among Malaysian community.
Most Asia-Pacific countries now have a TFR below the replacement fertility level of 2.1.
On average, a country needs 2.1 babies per woman to maintain its population stability without migration. But as of 2023, Malaysia's fertility rate only 1.7 babies per woman. This means our younger population is shrinking fast. And when that happens, a chain reaction begins. The question is the low birth rate a ticking time bomb waiting to implode? Should we be concerned about it already? You see, in the 1960s, overpopulation was a major concern as the world's population boomed after World War II, with fertility rates reaching their peak of all times. China's fertility rate exceeded 6 during this period. And can you just stop for a moment and imagine that each woman in China had 6 kids on average? That is a little hard to believe in today's context, right? And to address this, they implemented the one-child policy in 1979, which was enforced through fines and social pressure. And ironically, that led to their ever-declining birth rate even until today. And it's even more apparent when you compare it against the world's population. So much so that they had to react by loosening the policy by enabling 2 children in 2016 and later 3 children in 2021, all in a span of less than 10 years. But the damage was done and irreversible. The paradigm has shifted and their birth rate decline did not even budge at all. I know I'm oversimplifying it, but my point is this issue isn't confined to just China only. Almost every nation in the world is facing the same issue, and it has a lasting impact on the global economy, even ours as well. Quick pause, if you're working hard in Malaysia but your income never grew as much as you like, that's because inflation is dragging you down and you need to start investing in productive assets. Look no further because you can now do it with today's sponsor, Interactive Brokers. Starting at a very low minimum, you can trade fractional shares with them, which means gone are the days where you have to buy one full unit of share. They also charge one of the lowest fees in the industry, only 35 US cents per trade in the US stock market. Very reputable and well regulated in more than 10 different countries all around the world, and I've been their happy customer for many years already. So feel free to use my link down below to open that account for yourself and start investing today. Okay, let's get back to the video. So what happened? Why has the birth rate been declining not just globally but here in Malaysia as well? One huge reason: urbanization. Basically, people moving from the outskirts and kampong into big cities like KL, JB and Penang, mainly for better opportunities. According to DOSM, states like Terengganu, Kelantan and Pahang have higher total fertility rates with an average of more than 2.5. Meanwhile, urban states like Penang and KL way lower at 1.3. And before I ask, the Chinese community in Malaysia has the lowest fertility rate at just 0.9. compared to 2.2 for Malays and 1.2 for the Indians. I will leave it for you to comment below why that's the case. You see, urbanization isn't just about people packing up and moving to the city. It's about how it totally changes the way we live, we work and even think about starting a family. And that's a big deal because having a kid is not easy. It involves commitment and also financial burden. In the past, especially in rural areas, having more kids was seen as a natural advantage. Children were expected to help out with family business or labor-intensive tasks like farming, and some parents even view them as a source of wealth and support. Basically, they are the assets of the parents. But fast forward to today, in urban areas like Klang Valley, with child labor laws and modern lifestyles, children are no longer expected to bring bread to the table. Instead, they have become a significant expense for parents, from paying for better education, tuition, and childcare to even helping their kids buy their first car or house. The financial demands are endless. In other words, a liability. And it does feel weird for me to say that, not gonna lie. But feelings aside, how much exactly does it cost to raise a kid? Well, according to AKPK's estimates in 2023, it can be anywhere from 393,000 ringgit all the way up to 1.4 million ringgit from infancy to university. But of course, case-to-case basis, right? Here's a detailed breakdown for you on the big cost, especially in KL, where most working adults live today. As a start, during pregnancy, delivery and post-delivery phase, that can cost anywhere from 5.5k up to 69.3 thousand ringgit. From a newborn to roughly 6 years old, that can range anywhere from 103,000 to 289,000 ringgit over the course of 6 years. And then we have primary and secondary school, which has a vast range of anywhere from 125k to over a million ringgit, because there's obviously government and private school. And last but not least, tertiary education, which can range anywhere from 98k up to 580,000 ringgit. Personally, I'm fortunate enough to study with a full degree scholarship, but my basic expenses would easily rake up to at least 50,000 ringgit throughout those 4 years. And let's not even begin with overseas study, because that can easily start from a few 100,000 ringgits, no thanks to the currency rate difference. So, of those things that I've just mentioned, the very rough cost of raising a kid from pregnancy to university totals to about 333,000 ringgit at a minimum, which, if you divide by 21 years times 12 months, translates to roughly 1,324 ringgit every month. Now, think about it. The median salary in Malaysia is roughly 2,700 ringgit, and even if we take the highest in KL, which is around 4,000 ringgit times 2 because husband and wife, that extra 1,324 ringgit monthly for a child is easily 16% of your entire household salary per kid. And at risk of stating the obvious, if your income growth is not outpacing inflation, that means you will likely have to compromise your lifestyles, less traveling, fewer or maybe cheaper hobbies, and maybe your self-investment as well, which kind of explains why a lot of youngsters nowadays are putting career, self-interest, and even survival first. Dating, marriage, and babies, that will have to wait. And by the time someone finally becomes financially stable to afford a baby plus the lifestyle that they want, they are often already in their 30s or above. And at that stage, it becomes harder to find the right partner. And for the ladies, it's also more difficult or riskier to conceive. Now, all these calculations are just rough estimations from different sources because, well, I don't have a kid yet, so if you do, I really like to know what the actual cost look like for you on the ground, so do let me know in the comments down below. And of course, money and numbers aren't everything. Some just want to be child-free. It really comes down to lifestyle preferences, willingness to sacrifice your whole life, as well as the commitment that comes along with raising a kid. I mean, being a parent is a full-time job, right? Now, here's why. Some worry about the lack of support that they will receive. Some say they prefer their current lifestyles with their beloved pets. Some women also think that men do not participate actively in childcare. And unfortunately, there are also those whose own childhood experiences were difficult or traumatic, and that makes them question whether they want to repeat that cycle or take the risk of doing it all over again. Honestly, there are so many other reasons out there, and everyone's story is different. Personally, I'm all for having kids, but maybe you have a whole different view on this, or you are actually on the fence about having kids. If so, feel free to share your thoughts down below. Now, let's dive into the long-term effects of having fewer babies. You might say, yeah, so what, you've got fewer babies? Doesn't affect me, ma. You sure? Let's take a look at this population pyramid. About 20 years ago, Malaysia's largest population group was at the age of 10 to 14. Fast forward to 2015, it shifted to 20 to 30. And now, in 2025, it's at 30 to 34. If this doesn't ring a bell to you, let me tell you, it means our population is aging. Even our government has acknowledged this, projecting the old age group to increase from 5% in 2020 to 14.5% by 2040. Now, to be fair, Malaysia isn't as bad compared to countries like Japan or Korea, where in just 30 years' time, by 2055, a large portion of their population is expected to be in their 60s to 80s. For Malaysia, by that time, our largest population group will likely be in the 40 to 50 age range. Still, we should take this seriously because 1. Fewer young people means less energy in the economy. The workforce will shrink and it gets harder to drive innovation, increase productivity, and sustain growth. Companies may also struggle to find workers. Sure, migration can help to fill in the gap, but that also means higher salaries to attract talent, and eventually, the extra cost gets passed down to who? Consumers like you and me. Here's the scary part. More than 52% of EPF members under 55, basically the ones who are still working, have less than 10,000 ringgit in their savings account. That's barely enough to last 3 months without a job. Now, imagine when these people hit retirement age, no strong pension, no backup plan, and possibly no kids to support them either because everyone's having fewer babies. So, who's going to support them? Well, it's government, and by government, I mean taxpayers like you and me. And think about it, with an aging population, who's going to buy the new houses? If the majority of people are older and already settled down, housing demand might slow down, which could even affect property prices and the overall economy as well. Take Japan for example, the number of empty houses in 2023 is around 80% higher than in 2003, simply because of their shrinking population. So, the extra condo that you bought as an investment for the future, what if no one is renting from you? Food for thoughts. And other than the economic slowdown, there's also another even more daunting issue with an aging population. Malaysia is still facing a shortage of doctors in public hospitals. To compare, we have 2.4 doctors per 1,000 population, while for Singapore, it's 2.7. And ask yourself, do you think our current long wait times in public healthcare can handle an even larger group of elderly patients? And let's not forget, what about those from lower income households? Can they afford the sky-high medication costs if they were to go for private hospitals? Or are they doomed to just wait in public hospitals? If you have unfortunately tried out public healthcare today, I'm sure you will understand what I mean over here. And here's another ripple effect. Insurance premiums might continue to rise just to cover the growing healthcare demand from the elderly. As of 2023, the medical and health insurance premium in Malaysia has grown 10.4% year on year, highest in a decade. I mean, even our EPF rate also cannot beat them. Oh, and on the side note, even dying is getting expensive. Burial plots, the land where your body goes, are going up in prices as well. If you haven't heard, a burial plot from Nirvana can range from 20,000 to over R1 million. Even the cheaper afterlife condo also costs around 10 to 30,000 ringgit. Now, with an aging population and inevitably more deaths, you can only expect those prices to go higher from here. But hey, not everything is dark and gloomy. Our government is also actively providing incentives to help improve the birth rate in Malaysia. Firstly, they offer tax incentives for Parenthood which can go up to 8,000 ringgit a year. Then in 2025, our government allocated 5.2 million ringgit to subsidize fertility procedures. And thirdly, the minimum maternity leave has been increased from 60 days to 98 days under the Employment Act 1955. And all these are all steps towards improving the nation's birth rate. But let's be honest, when you compare that to Singapore, it still feels a little, well, how should I put it, lacking, at least monetary wise. Over there, the government gives out free cash gifts of up to 11,000 Sing dollar, which is around 36,000 ringgit for the first and second born, and up to 13,000 Sing dollar, which is around 43k to the third and subsequent children. And on top of that, Singapore parents get childcare leave of up to 6 days per year each. Meanwhile, in Malaysia, most parents still have to use their own annual leave just to take care of their kids. I mean, it's really that much of a difference just across the bridge, huh? But as it stands today, Malaysia's population is still growing. It is projected to peak around the year 2071 and only starting to decline in 2072. So technically, we still have time to fix this. Not waiting until then, but working within the projected time frame. And here's a fun fact for you. Do you know that even with all the cash gifts and incentives, Singapore's fertility rate hasn't improved much? Not even in the highly anticipated Year of the Dragon. So, what's the real underlying issues? Perhaps you have a different perspective. Comment down below.